Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up in the Big 12 in Week 13. And this is going to be between West Virginia and Oklahoma. And this is going to be a big matchup for both these teams moving forward. You got Oklahoma on one side, who's definitely on a roll right now. Oklahoma is definitely right back in the mix into possibly being in the Big 12 championship. Meanwhile, for West Virginia, they're kind of on the outside looking in right now. They're currently 5th in the conference, just behind Oklahoma State and Texas. But then again, I think West Virginia is still in position to make it to a pretty good bowl game, especially if they can get a win here against Oklahoma, which definitely will be no easy task. But we're going to be going over a full game preview and prediction on this one here today, starting out with your team trends. And of course, Oklahoma last week had that huge win over Oklahoma State, which obviously both teams being big rivals, that was a huge win for the Sooners. I mean, 41-13, that was a very dominant win by Oklahoma there. And Oklahoma State really, considering how they've been a national contender all season long, that is a huge win for Oklahoma. And especially, considering, it was a rough start to the season for Oklahoma. We saw them get completely bumped out of the rankings at one point. I think they were 1-2 at the start, and they've won, it looks like, 5 straight games since. So Oklahoma is definitely on a roll right now, and it looks like they're back as to how we expected them to be at the beginning of the season. Because of course, Spencer Rattler, Spencer Rattler's a great quarterback, but at the beginning of the season, he just did not fit well in this offense, it looked like. But ever since then, and ever since those first couple of games have gotten over with, it really looks like this offense has clicked. Because, if you look at how well this Oklahoma team has played, especially over the past 3 games, like they've scored 62 points twice. They scored 62 on Texas Tech and Kansas. And I understand both of those teams are definitely some of the worst teams, or both are pretty bad teams in the Big 12. But then again, they put up 41 on an Oklahoma State team that has really not allowed a lot of points all season. So for Oklahoma, that was a very impressive win. Well, for West Virginia, they beat TCU 24-6 back on November 14th. That was when their last game was, so that was a pretty good win there for West Virginia as well. Can't forget about them. Winning streaks, both these teams. Oklahoma is currently ranked 14th in the nation, so they're back on the rise in the top 15. They're 6-2 with a 5-game winning streak, and then West Virginia is 5-3 with a 1-game winning streak. Games will be on Saturday, November 28th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern in Morgantown, so the Mountaineers will be your home team here. Spread currently says Oklahoma by 10.5. ESPN FPI's got Oklahoma 74%, and then the Vegas prediction also is the Sooners 35-24 being the current score projection. So all 3 of our sources are going with Oklahoma here, which really is not much of a surprise considering Oklahoma is on a roll right now, and they're definitely looking like one of the best teams, honestly, in the nation. I think Oklahoma, honestly, the way that they're playing right now, considering they do have 2 losses, I think that they should keep just outside of the top 10 for now. But Oklahoma is playing like a top 10 team right now. There's no doubt about that. Here's your stat comparison for this game. Oklahoma's got 45 points per game, 23 points allowed. They got 343 total pass yards a game. They got 168 rush yards. Then for yards allowed, they got 230 passing and then 96 rushing. As for West Virginia, they got 29 points per game, 17 points allowed. They got 285 pass yards a game, 156 rush yards. Then for yards allowed, they got 161 passing and 112 rushing. So all around, both these teams are pretty good in some areas. Oklahoma has definitely put up a lot more points than West Virginia has this season. But then again, West Virginia has allowed 6 less points per game in comparison to Oklahoma right now. So I'd say the ratio, though, is still better with Oklahoma. 45-23 is better than 29-17. But still, if you look at Oklahoma over the past couple of weeks, they've been extremely dominant. Spencer Rattler's definitely gotten on a great stride. He's put up 2,300 yards this season so far through 8 games, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Really, he's been playing very well, and he's definitely been living up to the expectations that he put on himself. Of course, if you look at Oklahoma's quarterbacks before this season, you had Jalen Hurts, you had Kyler Murray, you had Baker Mayfield. So, those are some big shoes to fill if you're Spencer Rattler coming into this season, and I think he's done it pretty well so far this year. Meanwhile, for West Virginia, you got Doja, of course, at quarterback, who's actually had quietly a really good season. 2,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions is what he's had for West Virginia, which really, those are some pretty good stats for a quarterback. Those compare up to Spencer Rattler, which, obviously he does not have quite the amount of touchdowns that Rattler does, but still, his accuracy is pretty good, so there's that as well. But, he's definitely a quarterback to watch out for in this situation, as he has averaged 285 pass yards a game up until this point. As for the defensive side, though, Oklahoma is definitely really good on the rush defense, only allowing 96 rush yards per game so far. Really, if you can keep that number under 115, that is very impressive. Oklahoma's kept it under 100, so yeah, very impressive out of Oklahoma so far this season. Some key points for this one: Oklahoma is definitely one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, no doubt about that. I mean, they've won 5 straight games. It's very tough to do that in college football. I mean, they also had a great win over Oklahoma State last week. They didn't even give the Cowboys a chance from the start. 41-13 once again was their final score. All around, just was a great win for the Sooners. And honestly, this team is looking like how we expected them to at the beginning of the year. Like, this is a team that I think is worthy of playing the college football playoff right now. They've blown out several opponents in a row. And all around, Oklahoma's just looking really good. Meanwhile, West Virginia, I mean, no one's really talking about them, but they're quietly actually having a pretty good season. Like, they've had a couple of bad losses down the stretch. Like, they lost to Texas Tech earlier on. They lost to Texas a couple of weeks ago, but I mean, they blew out Kansas State, blew out TCU, blew out Kansas. I mean, West Virginia is really not that bad of a team this season. They're 5-3 as well, so they're kind of in the background there in the Big 12, which I don't expect them to make it to the championship, but West Virginia really is not that bad of a team this season. They're actually pretty good, so yeah, don't sleep on this West Virginia team moving forward, but I would expect moderate scoring in this matchup. I'd say both teams definitely should be able to put up some good points in this one, considering the offenses. But in the end, here's what I'm expecting. I've got Oklahoma getting the win here, 31-21. I think this one's going to be a little bit. I don't expect it to be a shootout by any means, but I think Oklahoma's going to put up a decent amount of points. I just think the Sooners right now are too much on a hot streak for West Virginia to take them down. Like, I definitely think West Virginia's got some talent, and wouldn't surprise me if we did see the Mountaineers get the win. But I think Oklahoma, I mean, they're just all around the better team here. Spencer Rattler's definitely clicked with this offense lately, and I'm going to give him a 65% chance of getting the win here over West Virginia. But once again, wouldn't surprise me if we did see West Virginia get the win, but I think Oklahoma is all around, once again, just the more talented. They've got better recruiting, and they've got more talent all around on their team. They've been playing better. I got to go with the Sooners on this one, but do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this one. Let me know your score predictions, all of that down below. And then again, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this preview, slap a like on it, subscribe as well if you're not already yet, and I will see you all later.